So we're going to draw object number 4. And object number 4, I think we need to start with the top view, and we need to do this with the 2D polygon tool. And we also want to make sure that we are in our visible class, making sure that we have not overdrawn our title block. We've already file saved as last name object 4. And where we're going to start is at the half-inch section. We're gonna start this drawing. So we're going to go 1/2 of an inch. We're going to come over 4 3/4. We're going to come down 1 3/4. We're going to come over 3 5/8. And then from there, we're just going to connect the two pieces to the end point. That brings up our general shape. Our next one, we're going to start with a 3/8 section. We're going to come over on this 3 inches, coming down on that 1 inch, and then coming over on that 2 3/8. I'm doing the same thing. We're going to click this piece into that top piece there. Next, we're going to go to our circle, and our circle is going to be a 1/2 inch diameter or a 1/4 inch radius. And here's where it gets fun. So we want to make sure that we have our top plan selected in our view, and we're going to do something called changing the origin point. Changing the origin point. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to take my origin point and I'm going to select it. Into this top left-hand corner of my object. And while my circle is still selected, over here in my object info, I now have the center X and the center Y. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that my circle is in my center Y, -1 inch. And in my center X, I want this to be 1 3/8 to center. This is all denoted on that PDF drawing. And now we have our official object with our circle in the correct location. From here, we can start to bring in our guidelines. So our guidelines are going to come down. And what you're going to notice is the exterior of that ends up matching up with that line. So we only need that one guideline there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take our box or our rectangle tool back in the visible class, and we're going to draw our first rectangle. Our first rectangle is going to be a thickness of 3/4 of an inch and a length of 2 3/4. There's my first box, and my second box I can do as well. My second box is going to be a length of 3 inches and -3/4. So there's that. Drag that box down to this box, and now I can use my guidelines to kind of help me fill in the gaps here. So I'm going to have my visible line will take priority over the hidden line of my circle. And now I can come in here and change to my hidden class. And I'll have a hidden line over here. And then to my center class, I will have my center class being here. You're going to see that the smallness of this will make my center line look a little weird. That's okay. As long as it extends past, we're going to know that that is in fact a center line. Back to my guide class. It's time to bring some lines over this way. It's time to do my 45-degree angle transfer line and bring my guide lines this way. You'll see that those guidelines line up with one of my visible lines, so we're learning a little bit about line priority here. We want this point here and this point here. And now we just start to bring all of these things down. And then we have to decipher what these lines mean now that they're down in our drawing. So the first thing we have is we have our first rectangle, and we're going to do that in the visible class. And that rectangle is going to be two shapes together. So I'm going to draw one rectangle here, and I'm going to draw my secondary rectangle from this point here over this way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that object there and that object there, and I'm going to modify add surface. So now that's one solid object. We're going to leave that as one solid object over here. So again, that was modify down to add surface. It's grayed out now because we just did that. So then now I have that object. Now it's time to come in here and place some of my other lines. So I have a hidden line. My hidden line is going to come straight across. I'm going to also have a hidden line denoting where the edge of that object is. I'm also going to have a hidden line denoting where the edge of this piece here. So if I follow this piece over to this line here and then down to this line here, I'm going to have a hidden line here. And then I'm also going to have my center line. So let's stay with hidden lines for a second. I'm going to have a line here, and I'm also going to have a line here. And then I'm going to put my center line in the middle of that. And again, I'm going to draw that down, and then I'm going to bring that up and into my drawing. So it extends past on both sides. From here, I'm going to go into View, Class Options, Active Only. We're going to go into my guide class, select all my guidelines and delete them. Go back to View, Class Options, Show Snap Modify Others, making sure that I'm now in my center class, down in Dimensions and Notes, going to my center mark tool, and placing a center mark into this. You'll notice that my center mark's slightly small, and I think that's because I'm so small in my scale right now because I'm still scaled to the 1 to 1.5. If you really think about it, what we want to try to do is we want to try to take each one of these objects and kind of move them closer to each other. So I'm going to move them a distance of 1 inch, and instead of having to draw guidelines to make sure I'm in the same location, I'm just going to drag that, and as I'm dragging that, I'm going to go over to my command line and give that 1 inch in. I'm going to go into my scale. I'm going to change my scale back to 1 to 1. And you'll see that my object's much bigger. I'm going to bring that over into my printable area. It fits nicely in my printable area to 1 to 1. And now when I grab my center mark tool in my center class and put it into my circle, you're going to see that it extends past. Our goal here is to try to get this object to be as large as possible within our title block.